Hi, everybody. This is David Nevins for Citybiz List, and welcome to our program today. And we are delighted that we have a very special guest today, and he is Imtiaz Patel. And Imtiaz is the CEO and publisher of the Baltimore Banner. Now, hopefully, many of you know what the Baltimore Banner is. Perhaps some of you don't. And for those who don't, Imtiaz will explain. And for those who do, he'll tell you about how they're doing and their future and so forth. Imtiaz, welcome to our program.
Thanks, David. Thanks for having me here.
It's our pleasure indeed. Imtiaz, before we get into the banner, just tell us a little bit about yourself, your background. I think you moved from the West Coast to the East Coast to take this job. So take a minute or two and tell us about your career and what got you to Baltimore.
Yeah, sure. I actually didn't move that far. I moved from New Jersey.
Okay.
So like a 2.5 hour drive away. But you know, my career means I've spent probably the last 20-ish years in the news business on and off, 6.5 years at the Wall Street Journal. My wife actually still works there. I met her there. So like a 2 newspaper kind of family. Then the last few years, I've been really consulting to the industry, to a lot of local news organizations. I was working with the Philadelphia Inquirer on a digital transformation project as they're kind of thinking about what should they be, what should their business model be, what's the strategy in a digital world. I actually took me a while, but I ended up convincing them to outsource their printing operation, which saved them a ton of money. And then I was working with Gannett as well, which is the largest owner of local news organizations in the country, 240 newspapers, also own USA Today. And I was working on a new operating model for them. And, you know, during that journey, working with local news organizations, I met a guy, Stuart Bainham, who's the chairman of Choice Hotels, who was interested in targeting his philanthropy dollars into news because he was worried about what's happening to the state of local news. You know, when kind of a city or a town loses its local newspaper and there's not good coverage, bad things happen. It's democracy defining stuff. And we attempted to buy the Sun, which didn't work out. And we were going to kind of reinvest in the Sun to rebuild the Sun. That didn't work out. And so we said the problem still remains. So here I am. He asked me to not just write the plan and the strategy, at which point I would normally walk away from a gig. My consulting role would be done, but he's like, you go run it, build this up, and let's try to figure out how to make this work.
Well, terrific. And I guess I'll correct myself in saying, well, welcome to Baltimore from New Jersey, if not the West Coast. Maybe you were on the West Coast of New Jersey. Maybe that's what I meant to say.
Yeah.
In any event, actually, I just finished an interview. You may recall his name, with General Wesley Clark, and he used to run all the NATO forces, and he's now running an organization called Renew America Together. So it may actually please you to learn that one of the things he chalks up this great divide that we now face in this country to is the fact that there's not enough local journalism, that people aren't getting enough accurate, essentially unbiased news. And the more, the better. And the more people learn about what's going on, the divide we have will potentially go away, and we'll be together again. So that's kind of what the banner is all about, is it not? And tell us a little bit about where the banner is today and what you hope the Baltimore Banner becomes.
Yeah, so, you know, when we thought about launching the banner, and we would have done this with the Sun as well, so it's kind of all aspirations, and we were really keen on getting the Sun because you start with something established, something. The Sun has this fantastic tradition of journalism and history, which I really got into as we were kind of doing the pursuit, and it's sad that it didn't happen. So what we really think about from a news organization's perspective is really, and we spent a ton of time thinking through our mission. What do we want to be? And the core reason we wanted to launch a new service is again, for democracy defining issues, if local people don't understand what's going on, how can they make choices and decisions, especially if coming from a trusted source? There's 2,000 towns have lost their newspapers. There's, I don't know, tens of thousands of journalists have left the business, and we don't want Baltimore to become a news desert. And our mission really relates to that. So we are here to serve all communities, not just the ones that could pay for a subscription, but really all communities, because that's what we want to do. We're a nonprofit, right? We want to have positive impact. We want to make Baltimore and the surrounding areas a better place to be. And the way we choose to do that is through news and information, trustworthy news and information. So that's our mission. But there's a second part of our mission, because this is happening all over the country. We are the largest local startup ever in this country, I believe. And we're going down a different model, and we're experimenting. Can we make this work? If we can prove that there's a path to sustainability, our hope is that other people like Stuart will provide significant seed capital. And I really think of Stuart's commitment as seed capital to get us going, build scale quickly, and let revenue follow. And that gives us enough of a roadway to get to sustainability, which really is about break even. And maybe other people will see our experiment work and they will do this around the country. So this is like there's a Baltimore and surrounding area centric kind of mission, but there's also this broader news ecosystem mission that we have as well. And I would say, it's been interesting. We've been live for about 7 months and 4 days now. So I'm not counting the days at all.
How many hours?
I would say, and 2 hours.
Yeah, okay, there you go.
So it's been great. We've learned a lot. Some of our initial assumptions and hypotheses are correct. Some are not. Some need tweaking. So we're learning like at this really accelerated pace, and we're making changes. It's going well. We have exactly 60 people in the newsroom. I am looking to hire maybe another 25 to 35 people in the newsroom in the next 6 months, which I believe will probably make us the largest newsroom in the state. There's another 30 people on the business side, marketing, product, so on. We have another 20 people offshore doing technology and back office. So we're a pretty sizable organization now. And I expect that we'll probably cap out somewhere towards 100 people in the newsroom, 100, 110 in the newsroom in the next 12 to 18 months. Audiences building. We're seeing positive trends on that. Our subscribers are growing very nicely. People will be surprised. We beat our goal slightly for the year end, so I'm feeling good about where we are and where we're going. But the biggest kind of thing that was a total surprise to me is the amount of impact we've already had through our stories. I did not expect that we could write a story today and something could happen tomorrow to make a change, or the following week. The path from story to actual impact has been incredibly short. And we've got numerous stories that have had. So we're living up to our mission. Now we got to kind of help make this thing sustainable. So overall, really, really positive.
That's terrific to hear. Imtiaz, I smiled and I was really pleased to hear you spoke glowingly and admiringly of the Baltimore Sun. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think given your commitment to local journalism, you don't view them so much as your competitor per se, but that the more journalism there is in the community, the more aware people are in their community of what their government is up to and what different businesses are up to and what the Ravens are up to and what have you, the better it is for everybody. Would that be accurate?
I think, yes, I think that is exactly right. So It's great. If you're a news consumer, this is the best time to be in Baltimore. We've had a net increase of 60 reporters and journalists because we've hired. The Sun has replaced everyone we've hired from the Sun, so they haven't taken it down. And it's fantastic. And we find that there isn't that much overlap between our stories and their stories. Some, yes. But there's just so much richness. Baltimore's a great news town, and there's enough stories. Now, here's the reality. I think this is the honeymoon period. We are going to continue growing. I have no doubt. I am completely. I'm an optimist, but I'm also very realistic and practical. And we will be sustainable. We are here for the long term. We will have somewhere north of 100. And if we make actually money beyond sustainability, beyond break even, everything will go into the newsroom. So our newsroom will just keep growing. And we're thinking pretty strategically, and there'll be announcements coming out. You know, the partnership with YPR, we have a partnership with Jay-Z, we're talking to Maryland Public Television. So there's all these partnerships we're working on. So that all drives our sustainability. Unfortunately, the status quo, even though we will grow, the Sun will shrink, not because people don't want the journalism and the reporters aren't doing great work. It's just who owns them. Right. They are owned by a hedge fund that is renowned in the industry for cutting headcount, especially in the newsroom. That is how they make money, and they use the time arbitrage between them cutting reporting and cutting coverage to someone canceling their subscription, and they make money in that time frame. That's just their business model. They haven't done that at the Sun yet. We believe it's because we're here. They want to compete. But it's inevitable. At some point, they will do that because they need to make money to return back to their investors.
So, Imtiaz, that's a great segue to my next question, which is, talk to me a little bit about your nonprofit model, which is one of the first of its kinds in the country. And you indicated that you thought it was the largest, certainly to date. I think people are familiar with the basic concept of a newspaper or a magazine. Yeah. You sell advertising, that brings in hopefully a lot of revenue. You sell subscriptions, that brings in revenue. And then you take that money and you hire and you create content. And when the day is done, hopefully there's a little profit margin to spread around among the owners. Your model is a bit different, and it has heavily relied upon Stuart Bainum, obviously a magnificent philanthropist, and we're so grateful that he's in Maryland and not elsewhere. But so just talk a little bit about the economics of the not-for-profit model, if you would.
The not-for-profit was kind of an important kind of thing for us. And there's a lot of other smaller nonprofits shooting up around the country. And some of them, like the granddaddy of them all, who we all look to as the Texas Tribune, they've been around 12 years. They're the one who started this, but they are a free site. And they get bulk of their money from donations and events that they run, and they're very successful at that. But the challenge with that model is they could only scale at a certain level without someone like a Stuart on the front end to give you a seed capital or other revenue sources. You cannot scale. We could not have the size of newsroom we're planning if we only relied on donations, right? So we have a 4-tier revenue model, right? Subscriptions will be the largest, 50% of our revenue. And we're working on some initiatives right now. I'm hoping to announce in the next couple of months that will provide free access to all our content for people who can't afford a subscription. So that's the mission part of it. And then we also work with other independents around the state, independent publishers, and provide our content to them to republish for free. So that's subscriptions. About a quarter of our revenue will come from advertising, and about 10 to 15% from ongoing donations, that'll go towards the newsroom and operating capital, and 10 to 15 from things like events, other kind of adjacent products that we're planning on. That's kind of the thinking. But one of the really important parts of being a nonprofit is we're really not beholden to anybody. Yes, Stewart's provided the seed capital, but really the board is there to, and Stewart as chairman is there to make sure we're on the right path. They don't dictate what we write about. We don't have to worry about advertisers or major funders asking us to do things a certain way. We're completely independent at the end of the day. So I think that adds another level. When we were talking about trustworthy news, I think it speaks to the trustworthy nature of what we're trying to be. And I do believe longer term, local news organizations will have to be, a large number of them will have to become nonprofits to survive and really use that as a revenue stream as well.
Well, it seems that sadly, I'd say you're probably going to be right in that regard. That young people, so many of them are not paying for their news, and we all know how they get their news on different sites and what have you, and that may be one of the reasons why we. As I was talking again to General Clark, that may be one of the reasons why we have this divide, because people are getting their news not necessarily, of course, from independent sites, but from sites and sources that have a particular agenda. Imtiaz, one of the things you mentioned that I had been unaware of, so I'm just curious, and I think you said maybe 10 to 15% of your revenue you hoped would come from other donations, Stewart obviously being the biggest donor. But do you see that, have you seen that develop, and do you see that continuing to develop, that people recognize that contributing to news for the community is actually a legitimate, I won't call it charitable cause, but civic cause that makes the city a better place?
I think some people do, and others we need to educate better, right? So we've had the Gold Sucker Foundation here, where they jumped in like literally day one and made us a multi-year grant. The Bunting Foundation has made a significant contribution to us, and we publish all of this on our website, and others have stepped up with donations in the $20,000-$25,000 range as well, and all the way down to $5 as well. But I think we do need to do much more education. I think there's a moment right now, maybe moment's the wrong word, but I think there's a real movement going on right now, both especially nationally, where a lot of foundations are thinking about the role of news and fair news, trustworthy news, and how that needs to be supported in our democracy. And so they're coming at it from different angles. So some are coming at it from an education perspective, some are coming at it from survival of the press, some are coming at it from democracy. So there's different angles, and what we have to do is continue to educate and show how we fit into this kind of ecosystem. But it's going to take work. I actually have a team whose job is to focus on kind of growing our donor base.
So talked about, so obviously ongoing financial stability and what have you is something you need to stay on top of. What are some of the other challenges you face or anticipate facing over the next couple of years as you establish yourselves?
I think we could take an internal external perspective at this. Look at this. Kind of the external is, I need to build brand awareness. We're a startup, right? And I'm actually very happy with the trajectory. So we need to build awareness, but it's never enough. So that's one. I need to build a subscriber base. I need to convince businesses that they should be supporting us through advertising or whatever. So there's that external part of it. And then kind of relating to that is we're always fine tuning our content, right? We're thinking about things as like, okay, is this working? Is this not working? How could we do this better? So we haven't, we're finding our rhythm. We're not quite there, right? If you're like a Baltimore Sun or a Boston Globe or whatever, you have a rhythm. You're already doing the stories. You know what your readers want. You just have to tweak. We're inventing. I think I described this to someone today as we're flying a plane while we're building it at the same time. And then we're replacing certain parts because we realized that that wasn't the right part, but while we're flying this. So that's exactly what we're doing. Then the other thing is like more around just any startup, right? Making sure you get great talent, hiring, creating structure, creating a culture that is right for our organization. A lot of making sure the team works well together. So there's building the infrastructure out. So I think those really are our main challenges. And if I really start thinking long term, one of the things I say is we don't call us a newspaper because we are not a paper. We don't have paper, even though today we sent out like a print edition, like a commemorative.
Yes, I saw that. I saw that. Yeah.
So, but we're not a paper, right? And we're not a news website. We are a news media company. And I'm very deliberate about those words because I don't want us to be locked into a channel. Newspapers partly failed because they were so focused on the investments they made in paper and saw themselves as paper that they refused for the longest time to really leverage the internet. I don't want us to fall into that trap. At the end of the day, we're a news media company. All that matters to me is my content gets in front of people and they're consuming it. And it's my job to figure out how to monetize that. And so channels will change. So we should not be locked into anything. So long term, that's how I think about the evolving habits of news consumption. And I think the entire industry has to obviously think about that.
Right. It's interesting. So I've always referred to you as kind of an online newspaper. So if that's not the right terminology, I'll follow your lead as you come up with this new term to explain to people
Sounds good.
what you are. So you've indicated this a bit, but tell me what gets you the most excited about the future of the Baltimore Banner. Is it on the editorial side and creating stories that change Baltimore for the better? Is it more about creating this new model of nonprofit journalism that could be replicated in 100 cities over the next decade around the country? Or it's probably a bit of both, but I'll let you answer. I'm not going to answer.
It really is. But foremost is it's about the news, it's about the content, it's about the impact, it's about serving our mission, right? If at the end of the day, we're a nonprofit, right? So we're not here to make money. At the end of the day, if our stories don't have an impact, we as an organization make no impact whatsoever. We have no reason to exist whatsoever. So we have to have impact, and that is the most. And I'm proudest when I see stories that we're writing that no one else has, and it had an impact. That makes me really happy. I'm also kind of like I'm that kid who was got his first subscription at 13 for The Economist. So I've always been a news junkie my whole life. So that's important. But I'm also like a business junkie. I've always been into business strategy. Why did this work? Why did that not work? Competitive strategy. I was telling someone today, I was like, when I was a kid, I had two ambitions in life. I either wanted to be a Formula One race car driver or I wanted to be CEO. Well, one didn't happen, the other has.
It sounds like we have very similar upbringings. I remember as far back as I can remember, reading the newspaper at the kitchen table. My father and I would fight about which section to to read first, and he'd win all the time. I'd get whatever, and then when he finished one, we'd trade. And then I had a newspaper delivery route as a kid too. So I'm a news junkie too. The newspaper business, and I'm calling it the newspaper business. You can correct me if you'd like, but it's always been very interesting to me. Like, on the one hand, you're writing about, you're doing restaurant reviews, like what restaurants people should go to, and then on the next page, probably vice versa, but then you're writing about uncovering a scandal, in the local government or something like that. And both are pretty important if you think about it. And that's what makes a city. That's what gives it a cultural vitality and what have you. So I wish you good luck going forward.
All right, thank you. Yeah, it is so true. It means you can't just serve one part of someone, right? You've got to serve the total individual. So that's why, like, the fun stuff matters as much as the tough stuff.
Yeah. Now, I did just note, and maybe I don't know if you'll care to be specific, or more specific. I know that you quite recently added some local sports coverage to your editorial content, and I haven't quite seen yet any significant business news coverage. Can you share with us your intentions in both regards?
Yeah. So we made a decision early to go. We could have gone one of two ways, right? We could have gone broad, cover everything, but be inch deep. Or we could go narrow and go deep. We chose to go narrow and deep. And you just can't find people and hire at the rate, and the organization couldn't really digest hiring everything all at once. So we are right now focused on really building up our sports coverage. We will probably have the largest, if not one of the largest, if not the largest news sports beat in the city. We're still looking for multiple heads for that group. We want to do it really well. We're very excited about sports, and I'm a real sports junkie, news junkie. So I love that stuff.
And if I could interrupt for a second, you have to now support Ravens and Orioles. I don't know if you're a Giants or a Jets guy, but they're yesterday's news. You got to move on to Baltimore.
I'm trying to support the Ravens. I am a Jets guy.
Okay.
But since they're not in the same division, it's kind of sometimes easy. I can do both for now until they move up.
You can stick with the Rangers if you want, because we don't have a hockey team. But otherwise,
I don't do hockey.
Okay.
What I do love is, everyone here knows I am obsessed about English Premier League soccer. Liverpool is my team, hence the red. And hence you'll see the little plaque back there. That is the Liverpool song, "You Never Walk Alone." My little bobbleheads are the coach and the striker from Liverpool as well. So there's a real Liverpool thing going on here. So sports. We are now also building out regional expansion. So we are moving into the counties, and you can expect us to spend a lot of our hiring focused on regional expansion over the coming year as well. Business is coming. I was originally thinking it'll be later in the year, but we may start doing business sooner rather than later. We're right now going through kind of 2023 planning. So I see that coming soon as well. So those are kind of the big areas we've got kind of as a focus for the next 6 months at least.
Good to hear. Good to hear. So Imtiaz, for our viewers of this program who want to learn more, tell us how they can reach out to you and potentially become a subscriber as well to the Baltimore Banner.
So they should come to thebaltimorebanner.com, and you got to use the because someone's squatting on baltimorebanner.com and wanting an exorbitant sum of money for that name. So thebaltimorebanner.com. Come check us out. We have a fantastic deal right now, $1 for 6 months. It really can't be any cheaper than that.
No, it can't.
And my email is on the website. It's Imtiaz at thebaltimorebanner.com. So I'm really easy to get a hold of. I'd love to hear from people with ideas, thoughts, feedback. I get plenty of reader emails with criticisms and positives as well. So we take everything very seriously, and I'm pretty accessible. And if people would like to visit us, happy to host people as well.
Well, and for anybody watching, you can see that he's located in the Inner Harbor with a great view out the window there as well. So Imtiaz, thank you so much for your time. We wish you much success.
Great, David. Thank you so much. I appreciate your interest in the banner and taking the time to do this.
Our pleasure indeed. This is David Nevins for Citybiz List, and we've been speaking with Imtiaz Patel, the CEO and publisher of the Baltimore Banner. Have a great day, and thank you for watching.